Hello, my friend. I am so excited to share something with you because I have decided to take an intentional pause from creating content for at least the month of March, which means no podcasts, no weekly emails, no social media posts. And guess what? I am not doing this because I'm burnt out. I'm doing this because of how much I love my business and I want to lead intentionally. And so stepping back and creating this intentional pause so that I can reevaluate the strategy is the best way to do that. And so I'm still going to be coaching clients and nothing else is changing about my business. I'm simply taking an intentional pause of one seemingly tiny aspect of my business. And I wanted to share the process with you so that you can do this too, because chances are you do want to pause something. Maybe it's today, maybe it's in the future, but you'll probably want to pause something and think about how do I do that without shutting everything down or without seeming like I feel like I failed, right? These are the things that pop into our mind. So I wanted to share that with you today. And so, like I said, I am still coaching clients. And because of this intentional pause, I actually have a few spots that I'm opening up. So if you have thought about working with me in a one-on-one capacity, I want you to apply now. So be sure to go to amandamckinney.com/work with me to do that. So back in episode 70, I talked about knowing when to quit and when to grit. And that was one of my favorite episodes. It was based on something that Adam Grant said. And a lot of you resonated with this as well. So I really appreciated that. But there's a third option that we don't talk about enough, and that is pausing. So not quitting, not pushing harder, but pausing on purpose. Because here's what typically happens to us. When something feels heavy, we either push through it because we are so driven, we are so ambitious, and we just push through, or we abandon, we quit, and then eventually have that feeling of, oh my gosh, I failed. But we forget that there's a third option, and that is the intentional pause. So I want to talk about what the difference is between a pause and an intentional pause. I'm using that word, pun intended, very intentionally, because an intentional pause has two components. One is the conscious decision to actually stop something, to pause something. The second is a revisit date. Without the revisit date, it could be avoidance. It could feel like that quitting aspect of like, oh, I failed. But with a revisit date, it's leadership. It's strategic. And so when you say like, I will revisit this on X date, you're removing the guilt, you're removing the shame, you're removing the mental spiral, and you're saying, I'm going to revisit this decision on this date and make a further decision. You're not abandoning, you're prioritizing. And that is a hugely powerful thing because it's not reactionary and it's not emotional. It's not, I can't handle this, so I'm just stopping. It's proactive. You're saying, I am choosing to make this decision, and that's what high performers do. We see this with elite athletes all the time. And right now, if you're listening to this live, which is in March of 2026, we're fresh off the Olympics. And so this is top of mind for me. And several Olympians have showcased this in a way that's really cool. Alyssa Liu, she's a figure skater, and she retired from figure skating back in 2022. Completely walked away, like early retirement. I believe she was 16 at the time. She came back 2 years later, started prepping for the 2026 Winter Olympics, and she won the gold in 2026. Powerful. But not only did she win the gold, everyone is not just talking about that. They're talking about how happy she is, how calm she was, how she didn't feel any pressure. And my friend, it's because she took that time away. Simone Biles, amazing gymnast. We all know. I mean, if you know that name, you know. And she stepped away for her mental health and has been really upfront about doing that. And she came back stronger and dominated the Summer Olympics back in 2024. And oh my gosh, I mean, such a powerful story. People are still talking about it. And the point, my friend, is not that they have gold medals, although that's impressive. The point is that high performers don't wait until they completely collapse and then you never hear of them again. They step back before resentment builds, before they're needing to do it because of a burnout place. And this is what I'm talking about today. You don't have to get to the place of collapsing and wanting to burn your business down or change your entire life before you do something. And I teach women how to plan for reality and protect their capacity all the time. This is my job, is to say, what have you got coming up this week? Let's make sure to not put too much on your plate. Let's plan for reality. Let's be intentional. And so, my friend, I am practicing what I preach over here. And so let me tell you about my intentional pause so that you know a little bit more about it. And I am taking away the content creation part of my business. This is the marketing side of things. This is this podcast. This is writing emails. This is posting on social media. As you can imagine, that is a big time commitment for me. And so it allows me to have more space. So without recording podcasts, without planning any podcast episodes, without writing and sending emails, without posting on social media, it allows me to do other things. The biggest part is I get to serve my coaching clients in a more deep way. I mean, I'm really committed to the clients that I have, but now I get to open up space for a few more spots and I get to serve them in a new way. I'm going to look at ways that I can become a better coach. I'm going to use this time away to learn and be even more strategic with how I show up as a coach. And I'm going to do some really fun things. So the reason that I chose this time of year is because this spring time is really when I'm thinking about flowers. The sun is coming out, and for a year or so, I've really wanted to plant a cut flower garden, and I'm doing it. I'm doing it this year. I don't know what it's going to look like yet, but I'm going to plan and actually implement that during this season. And I have been just loving knitting. I learned back in 2024 or 2025. Yeah, 2025 is when I really started. And I have just been enjoying. I'm super at the beginning stages of this. And so I'm going to try and knit some summer tops for myself. Who knows what they're going to turn out like, but I'm going to do it. I want to go to parks. I want to do things that I typically can't do simply because of time restrictions with what I have on my plate. So I'm opening up that space to see what becomes of it. And it's not because I hate creating content. I love podcasting. If you've been around, you know, I've probably talked about that before with you or around you. I love creating content. I don't hate it. I just want to see what happens when I don't create it for a little bit. I want to create that space and see what's on the other side. And that's the thing, is that a lot of ambitious women, which I consider myself very ambitious and driven, we don't necessarily struggle with like setting the goals and doing the thing. But we do struggle with knowing when to pause because we typically push hard or quit too fast. And that's something that we all do. You are not alone if you're like, I feel like you're speaking to me today. I feel like that. And so taking an intentional pause actually helps you to do that. And like I said, this is the part of the work that I do with my clients. We don't just say like, this is the goal and like, you know, come hell or high water, we're going to do this thing. No, we plan for goals around energy and capacity and seasons. There's seasonality. There's some times where it's like, we need to put that on the shelf for a little bit. We'll come back to that in another 90 days. That's a really typical conversation that I have with my clients. And so I'm simply doing the same for myself. And like I said, because I'm creating this space on my calendar, I do have some space for more clients. There's a limited number. And so if you are thinking, I kind of want to work with you, Amanda, maybe you want to take an intentional pause and you want me to help you with that. Because we fall into our normal routine. So like, I really had to commit to this and say, I'm not doing it. This is part of my accountability of telling you, I will not be producing a podcast episode, emails, or social media for at least 1 month. My revisit date is April 6th. I'm going to make a future decision on that day. And so this is part of the accountability, right? I've told other people, I have my own coaches. I have accountability on my side. If you want accountability to make a change in your life, whether it's adding something in or subtracting something out, I'd love to be that person for you. And so go to amandamckinney.com/work with me to apply. I am going to close applications for this season on Friday, March 6th. If you're listening to this live, that's this coming Friday. If you're listening to this in the future, you can still go. Applications will stay open. I'm just simply going to not be reviewing them for a bit, and I won't be taking on additional clients. On Friday, March 6th is when I'm closing my virtual door for applications, and then I will review, onboard new clients for this season, and I will not be taking any new ones once I have those set. But I don't know what's going to come on April 6th. And I'm excited to see what does happen. Maybe I'll come back to this podcast the exact same way in terms of weekly content feels the same. Maybe it's going to look different. Maybe it's going to be sharper or simplified. I don't know. I'm going to figure out what to do with that in terms of creating content. And I'm really excited to see what's on the other side because I'm going to model what I actually teach and what I help my clients do, which is protecting my capacity, protecting the season of life that I'm in, and leading my life on purpose. And that's what I want you to do as well. So whether or not you and I work together, I hope you find this really helpful and that you take an intentional pause whenever you're ready for one, and maybe even before you feel ready for one. So if you want to apply, make sure to go to amandamckinney.com/work with me. And otherwise, I'll see you after my reset. Until next time.